Yes, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner. He's Andrew Jones, still in the Watsco Center. We're here to do another daily drop, AJ. You know how we like to kind of do a quick three things, and then we'll throw a little daily drop in there, especially on these quick turnarounds when you got a Saturday, Tuesday game. We figured why not sit down again, just like I think we did one after the Duke game, too. Or am I making that up?
Yeah.
I can't remember it anymore.
And we like to do it when I'm on the road, too, because I don't really want to do drops inside hotel rooms. So I don't think that would be a particularly good look.
Yeah.
Even though I stay at pretty decent hotels. It's not like I'm at the Coral Gables Roadside Inn or anything like that with tricks being pulled in the parking lot.
I love it, man. I guess you don't have the penthouse at the nicest hotel in Miami either, but
I do. I generally go Hampton Inn, Hilton Garden Inn, Hampton.
Can't go wrong with those.
Type of thing.
Can't go wrong with those.
Once in a while.
Yeah, no, you can't go wrong with those at all. But in this drop, we're just going to do a quick, I'm not going to say preview of the Syracuse game, but a quick look ahead to the Syracuse game, which is on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. tip-off at Syracuse for the Tar Heels. Another important game for North Carolina, obviously, as we talked about in the kind of our three things video. They just need to keep racking together wins. Doesn't really matter how you do it this time of year. I mean, you want to see good performances, but if you can just kind of keep getting W's in that win column, that's how you start accomplishing things late in the year. But I think on the most interesting thing about the game, there's two interesting things for me. It's a quick turnaround for North Carolina. How do they respond to that again? Because they didn't respond well after the Duke game. I know it's a completely different situation, but still. And how desperate Syracuse. I mean, AJ, we were looking at the schedule of their remaining games before they got on here, and man, do they need to win this one because they don't have a lot of resume boosters left on the schedule. But when you look at it, they've lost 3 of the last 4 of the last 6. It's not a great Syracuse team right now, so they're going to be desperate for a statement win over North Carolina to, kind of boost that resume going into the rest of the year. So interesting on both, I think, sides of the court on Tuesday night because both teams, playing for something just a little bit different what they're playing for.
Yeah, I think Syracuse has to win this game because the games that are very winnable in between this one and they close at Clemson aren't going to move the needle. But if you rack up a bunch of wins and you show you can beat North Carolina and then maybe go be competitive at Clemson, that will help you a lot. But they got to get that kind of win. They don't have that kind of win. So they're going to put everything into it. And they have guards that force you to defend. Now, I think that if Judah Mintz decides he's going to try to beat you by himself, you let him do it. Because Judah will take bad shots at times, but he's a phenomenal talent, and he can also be very good in stretches. And you're also going to be dealing with a team, by the way, that got its bell rung in Chapel Hill. So pride factor is going to come out.
Yeah.
And Adrian Autry is going to challenge his guys. Say, look, they punked you before. You got to rise up, and it happens in college basketball. Remember what Duke did to Pitt on the road?
Yeah.
Look what Pitt did to Duke 10 or 11 days later in Cameron. So whatever happened in the first game between these two teams has no bearing on this one other than the fact that it's fuel for Syracuse. Carolina has to have a positive frame of mind going in here. They have to have a good disposition. When I say positive frame of mind, it looks more like a healthy frame of mind. They have to respect Syracuse. They have to recognize that if they're off from the perimeter and Syracuse isn't, Syracuse can beat them. There's no doubt. So Carolina can lose this game just like they could lose this one down here. They had Miami by 12 twice, 12 in the first half. Miami took the lead at the half. They had them by 12 in the second half with 10 minutes left, and Miami cut it to 2 and had the ball. So the Tar Heels have to they have to begin gearing toward postseason mindset, toward March mindset. It's now February 10th, so when they play this game, it'll almost be the middle of February. We have a 29-day month this time. And to me, the dog days of the season are middle of January, middle of February. So this is kind of reaching the end of that point when you start to see a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is the postseason. So the Tar Heels got away with one Saturday in Miami because they didn't close well. They didn't get away with one against Clemson, didn't get away with one against Georgia Tech. So they have to fully understand that not every game is Duke. Those are sidebar games, and everybody else is going to want to beat you just like Duke does, and you got to be able to want to beat them the same. And I think that that's sort of where this team's challenge is going into this game. They have to respect Syracuse. They have to defend Syracuse's guards. And they have to go into an environment where there'll be a big crowd there. I don't know how many. I guess the sellout streak will end because this was sold out here in Miami. 6 to 7 of their ACC road games have been sold out. Pitt wasn't. they were 1,000 shy and the students weren't in town. That I'm sure affected the numbers some. So they'll have 25, 26, 27,000 probably up there at the Carrier Dome, and the fans will recognize that that's their last chance, and they'll be there to pull their group through. So the Tar Heels just have to go in there. It has to be a business trip, has to be a business mindset, has to be a take care of business mindset. And if you get ahead 20-8, put your foot on the accelerator, press down, don't pull back, press down. This team has to start pressing down more. They've kind of gotten away from that some. They had a decent start, I think, at Georgia Tech, and then they let that thing slip. So they've got to more ironclad their whole coat of armor. They can't have a coat of armor in the arm and the rest of the body flailing awake. That's not going to work. They got to put the whole coat on. They got to keep it on for 40 minutes. I think that's the test going up to Syracuse, because if the Tar Heels are ready to go, and the Tar Heels respect the orange, and the Tar Heels play in a manner in which they are very cohesive out there. They're all 5 guys on the floor popping, and there's some symmetry. They'll win the game. But we've seen in 3 of the last 4 games where they don't play that way. So if they play like they did Saturday at Miami, if they play like they did at Georgia Tech, and like they did at home against Clemson, they will be in a dogfight and could very well lose.
Yeah, I was just to say on that for a second, we'll wrap it up. But that killer instinct, it feels like Carolina's had that at times this year, and maybe not so much over the last few games, because that's been the biggest thing for me, AJ. I said it even during the Clemson game where I thought Carolina was extremely poor, especially starting that game out. But how many times in the second half do they have to take a lead or pull away a little bit or make things interesting? And Clemson would, you look away for 2 minutes, you come back to the TV, and Clemson's up by 8 or 10 again. They didn't have that killer instinct in that game. And I think, again, we saw it a little bit today against Miami, where they're up 10 at one point, up 7 with just over 3 minutes. And then, it's a tip off Harrison Ingram's fingers, which turns out to be a lane violation on Miami, away from Miami having a chance to win that game with the last shot of the game. So that killer instinct just seems like Carolina doesn't have it maybe as much as they used to early on in the year. But again, I think going up to Syracuse, another opportunity to do so. And that's what I'm going to be looking out for. If Carolina pulls away a little bit in that second half, maybe it's an 8-point game with 5 minutes left. Can they put the foot on the throat of Syracuse and pull away? Or is it another game like Miami where it's going down to the wire again and it's getting sketchy for fans to watch, to say the least?
Players love to talk about their bag. Bag means their game, the different things they can do, they can go to. The Tar Heels have that killer instinct in their bag. They just haven't pulled it out that much lately. They did against Duke because they fended off Duke, but again, that's a sidebar game.
Sidebar, yeah.
If the other of the last 3 of the last 4 games, the other 3, Georgia Tech, Clemson, and Miami, the Tar Heels didn't really reach into the bag. They did a little bit tonight. They had to be gritty to get this win, but they need to find that killer instinct and bring it out. They haven't brought everything to the floor lately, so they need to bring the whole bag to the court, and they need to open it up, dump it out on the court, and say, here we are. And if they do that Tuesday night, up at the
what is it, JL Wireless or something like that?
JMA Wireless Dome.
JMA
and I will say right now, wireless will stink, because it always stinks up there. It's named after a wireless company, and the wireless is horrible there. So you'll get an AJ tweet complaining at some point about 10 minutes before tip off about Wi-Fi. So, and the staff will get the text messages of me firing out a few words that you'll never hear from Hubert Davis about the Wi-Fi. So I'm pretty good at that, pretty consistent at that. So the Tar Heels have to bring their bag. Now is the time to bring the bag with you. Go it over your shoulder, bring it out there with you, use it all, and march forward. They got 7 regular season games left, then the ACC tournament, NCAA tournament. They have as few as 9 games left, and they have as many as 16 left.
Could be a lot, could be a little.
How often that they bring that full bag out there to the court will determine how many games they play.
Absolutely right. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens up in Syracuse on Tuesday night. AJ will be there, flying up, I guess, directly from Miami. I know we've talked about it a few times.
Oh, not direct. I connected.
Where are you connected?
I think I connected DC. I'm not sure.
Okay, not bad. Back in the old stomping grounds.
It's a long flight, man. It's like flying from Raleigh to Denver.
I believe it. I believe it, man. You got to go all up the East Coast, basically. So contrast in weather, too. It'd probably be snowing in Syracuse, knowing your luck when you get up there.
Game day, it's a high of 30.
Say, AJ, 70 degrees in Raleigh-Durham area today. So just saying. Really? I'm sure it's probably 80 in Miami today, but you didn't.
We're recording
not
this
the greatest
Saturday.
time to leave this area, put it that way.
Yeah, I went out and got my steps at around 10 this morning, and it was 70. 72 when I started and 77 when I finished.
Sounds perfect right there, man. It was beautiful outside here today too. Got to take it when you can get it in the middle of February, but you're not going to get it on Tuesday night, AJ. I'm just going to let you know.
I'm going to send Jim Phillips a note and say, would you please schedule North Carolina at Miami 3 times every year in football and 5 times every year in basketball?
I mean, I don't blame you, man. That's the place to be.
I don't want to live here. Andrew Carter covered the Dolphins one year, and he was telling me, he's like, yeah, it's a great place to visit, but not a good place to live.
Yeah, I believe that.
I'll take Andrew's word and say I don't mind coming here several times. So, a few years ago in the COVID year, Carolina played here in football, and then they had the Orange Bowl not even a month later, and then basketball was like 4 days after the Orange Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I came here 3 times in 27 days. That was the week when I was at Iowa for basketball on a Wednesday and in Miami for football on Saturday. That was when Michael Carter and Javonte Williams ran all over everybody.
Oh, all over him, yeah.
So I had Miami 3 times in 27 days.
That sounds like ideal for you, man. That sounds like a dream right there for you.
And then I had Florida State 2 weeks later, but Tallahassee could be a lot like Raleigh sometimes in the winter.
Yeah, I've heard. You told me Tallahassee isn't anything to write home about, really.
No.
Well, I mean, yeah, Miami, Tallahassee, you know what I mean? I'd probably pick Miami if I were you.
Yeah.
I'll let you go. It's already 8:25. You're not going to be out of the Wasco Center to 2 a.m. at this rate anyway. So we're going to let you run. Go get to work. See if we can get everything up. And Adam, I know people are probably itching for the 3 things at this point since we're recording this afterwards. But we'll go ahead and get that rolling. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Another Daily Drop. Appreciate y'all watching as always. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell too. See y'all next time. Thanks.
Good night.